Oh, hello guys. Welcome back to Guru channel. Today guys, I'm going with Miss Lead, and today we are continuing with the measurements, but today we are continuing with a different thing. So last week I posted a video whereby I was doing the conventions. So that video was very necessary for it to be done before we can even proceed to do other parts of measurement, for like example what we're going to focus on today. So you cannot do the parameters today without doing the convention, because in measurement we are talking about how to measure. So it's also important that we know how to convert. All right, so if you did not see that video, go and check it up and then see how you convert. Okay, our today focus is going to be on the parameter. Okay, all right, so we are going to do the parameter, which is falling under measurement. Okay, all right, now let me do this. I don't know how to put this thing. Okay, and then this one will come here. Yeah. Okay, so first thing first, and then okay, I will just explain that. First thing first, we need to understand what is a pyramid. Okay, so with the definition that I'm gonna give you, you can stick with it. But if you still find the definition that you will understand, it's also advisable that you go with the definition that you understand. Okay, so but with my definition, I always tell my learners that perimeter is the total distance or the length. Okay, total distance or length around the shape or an object. Okay, someone can say a perimeter is also a total length of a 2D, a two diagonal shape. Okay, is a total distance total distance or length around a two diagonal shape, 2D shape. We call them 2D shape. Okay, is the total. Let me add here. I'm just going to add the word total. Okay, is the total distance or the length around the shape or an object. All right, so when we deal with the perimeter, we are also going to take into account what we call a circumference. All right, so the circumference, what is the circumference? I'm just going to explain it now. We're going to deal with the circumference. I'm just going to write the definition so that we also deal with it and then we understand what is the circumference. All right, am I writing like I'm running here? Right, the circumference, which we're going to see by letter C. The perimeter will sit by the letter P. So circumference is the total distance, or length around the circle. Okay, simple as that. All right. So circumference and the perimeter, they are the same, but when we talk about the circumference can only be calculated on the circle. All right. It's either a semicircle, which is a half circle, or a quarter circle. Okay, or a 1/3 circle. All right. So 1/3, that is the quarter. So or else it can be calculated on 3/4, okay, of the circle. So it can only be calculated on the circle. That one is specific, okay, but the perimeter can be calculated on all other shapes, okay. Now, because we were doing last week, I was showing the convention. So now, if you checked my definition there, they all talked about the length or the distance. They all talk about the distance or the length, okay? Distance or the length. So if you remember what we talked about, the units of measurements last week in the video that I made about conversion, go and check it out. You'll realize that in the distance, we only talk about, in the distance or the length, we only talk about kilometers, meters. These are the units that we use to measure the distance or the length, okay? We talk about kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters, okay, meaning that whatever object that you will be given, it must have these units. If it doesn't have these units, it can have the imperial system, okay. Remember, this is the metric system. This is the metric system. So in metric system, to measure the distance, we use kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters, okay. But in the imperial system, we use miles, we use inches. It's here. We use inches, okay. So we use feet. So it is also possible that you're gonna get your units of measurements in that as imperial system units, okay, if you are given that. So the distance in the imperial system can be measured with miles, inches, feet, okay. So it depends on which system you are given with. The bottom line here is that you cannot get your units of an object or the dimensions of an object given as kilograms or kiloliters. You understand? So that is how you need to differentiate between those. So if you go and check that video, you will understand what is happening here. Okay, so the distance can be measured with kilometers, meters, centimeters, and millimeters. Okay, so I want us now, we're gonna move into our main core shapes. Okay, let me write it here. Main core shapes. Okay, I want to tell you that with the shapes that I'm going to give you now, there is nothing formed without them. It's either whatever object that is formed, it can have one or two, or it can have all of them, or it can have any, but there is nothing formed like without this shape. Whatever is a building, when they do a building, they will use those shapes. They will take those shapes, okay? So now we're going to have a formula here on how to calculate what? How to calculate a perimeter. Okay? How to calculate a perimeter of each shape. All right? Now we're going to start with this one. All right, let's start with this one. Even though my drawings are not going to be accurate enough. Okay. I will just do this and then explain what it means. All right. So on our first here, what is the name of this shape? The name of the shape is a square, okay? This is our square. How do we know that a shape is a square? We will have all the sides of the shape being the same. And then again, remember here on our definition, another definition, it says it is the total distance around the 2D shapes. Okay, what do they mean when they say a shape is a 2D shape? It means that you can only see the length and the breadth of an object. You cannot see more than 2 dimensions of the shape. Okay, so when we continue, you will see what differentiate the concept of perimeter to other concept of measurements. You understand? Okay, now, so for us to say this shape is a square, we'll only see that all the sides are equal, meaning that if this side is 5 centimeters, that means that all the sides are going to be 5 centimeter, 5 centimeter, here 5 centimeter. All right, and in this 5 centimeter, what does it mean? Let's talk about this 5 centimeter. It simply means that from this corner, when they measured, whatever instrument they were using, when they use, let's say for instance, they were using a ruler, because these are the centimeters. So they have measured that object from this corner to this corner, and they have found that on the ruler is 5 centimeters. Okay, now when we talk about the perimeter, look at our definition. Our definition says it is the total distance around the shape, meaning that in our square, when we want to calculate a perimeter, we can say if we want the total distance around this shape, we can say perimeter is equals to side multiplied by 4. I'll give a reason why I'm saying that, because here we have how many sides? We have 4 sides, and in these sides that we have, they are equal. Okay, so if we have one side like this, we only need the unit of one side because all the sides are equal. Therefore, when we calculate the perimeter here, we can say perimeter is equals to 1. Okay, we have the value of one side. Our one side here is 5 centimeter. We can say 5 centimeter multiplied by 4, meaning that the total distance around this shape is 20 centimeters. Okay, now someone can come again and say the perimeter is equals to side plus side plus side plus side, because we have how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. So even someone can say 1, 2, 3, 4. So that will be 5 centimeters plus 5 centimeters plus 5 centimeters, of which is 20 centimeters. Then there can be another person to say a perimeter of a square, but let me not give this example. Let me not give this example. Let me end with these 2 examples. Okay, now we're gonna go to the next object now. So our next object is going to be a rectangle. It's gonna be a rectangle, right? Okay, which color? Let me use this one. It's gonna be a rectangle. Right, it's gonna be a rectangle like this. Right, I'll explain this. Right, the name of this shape is a rectangle. Okay, how do we know that a shape is a rectangle? We see that 2 opposite sides are equal. So if we check, we have 4 sides here. Okay, and then when we look at this side is opposite this side, it means that this side is going to be equal to this side. This side is going to be equal to this side. So now let's quickly move on how to calculate the perimeter of this side of this object. Okay, so when we look at our object here, we said is a rectangle. So in our rectangle, we have our length And our length in an object is gonna be the longest side, okay? So we're gonna have the width, or we can call this our breadth, anyhow you want it. It's either you say the width or the breadth, okay? So how do we calculate the perimeter of a rectangle? We say 2 length, because if we check, we're gonna have this length opposite this length. So this length, remember, they are the same because they are opposite each other, okay? So it's going to be plus 2 breadth or width, depending on which one you want to use. If you want to say breadth, stick to breadth. If you want to say width, stick to width. Okay, so what is happening with this object? You need to be given how much is your length and how much is your breadth. So they don't need to give you numbers all around the object. You understand? They can only give you this one and say this side is 10 centimeter and then this side is 4 centimeters. Okay, so what is going to happen is that we are not going to say we add all of these numbers, okay? We'll just take 2 because we have 2 of what? 2 of the length. Therefore, we multiply this 10 by 2, okay? Plus 2 and then of what? Of 4 centimeters. That means in our object here, we have 2 4 centimeters. And then we have 2 10 centimeters, okay? And remember, we are calculating what? The total around this rectangle, okay? So that's going to be 20 centimeters plus 8 centimeters, which is equals to 28 centimeters. That's how we're going to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle, okay? So someone, because they will see that this is a rectangle, they can also do it this way to say, because now we check how many sides are there. There are 4 sides. So someone can say length plus breadth plus breadth, which is going to be 10 centimeters plus 10 centimeters plus 4 centimeters plus 4 centimeters, which is going to be 10 plus 10, that is 20, plus 4, that is 24, plus 4, that is 28 centimeters. It depends on how you understand it, because we are talking about the distance around the object. Okay, then on the next one, I'm going to talk about a rectangle. Okay, I mean a triangle, not a rectangle. The rectangle is just what we did. Now when we move to the triangle now, the triangle has 3 types of the rectangle. So, and in mostly they don't usually ask you about those, you understand? So we are only going to focus in one type of the rectangle, which is the right angle triangle, okay? And show you how it is done. All right, so it is a triangle, okay? But when it is a triangle, it is called the right angle triangle. You just draw it like this. Just draw it like this. But mine, why is it like this? It looks like a boot, this one. Okay, right. Now because we need, okay, let me write triangle. But when it is a triangle, it is the right angle okay, right angle triangle. All right, so what is happening here? Remember, we are calculating the total distance around this shape, okay? And if you check, we have 3 types of the shape of the sides here. So this longest side here, it is called the hypotenuse side, this one, okay? And then this is going to be our height, and then this side down here is going to be our base, okay? Meaning meaning that these three sides, they are different. Okay, and remember I said we have 2D shape, which you can only choose, you can see 2 dimensions. Okay, so even on this side, this angle, you can only see 2 dimensions. What do I mean about the 2 dimension? Is because we don't have the actual height. If we place this angle flat on the surface, we cannot see the height of it. For like from the surface going up, we can't see that height. I hope people understand what I mean. Okay, now if we want to calculate the perimeter of this angle, we're just going to say the hypotenuse side plus the height of that plus the base. That will give us our perimeter. Or someone can say, because that angle has 3 sides, someone can say side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3. Okay, I don't want to go deep in this angle. I just want to leave it there. Okay, let me find another pen. Right, now we go to another shape. Now we're gonna do this. Just going to throw lots of stuff here, even though my drawing is not that perfect. I'll just be happy if people can understand and then leave my drawings alone. Okay, right, what do we call this angle? This shape is called a circle. And with the circle, we're going to remember that we are not calculating the perimeter, but we are calculating the circumference, which is the total distance or the length around the circle. All right, so in order for us to calculate a circumference, we need to know what we call a diameter and a radius. Let me underline here so that whatever that I'm going to do here now, I'm going to talk about the circle now. I'm going to do this. Right, we need to know the diameter or the radius. So what is the diameter? And I'm going to show you which line represent the diameter, which line represent the radius. Okay, right, so if you check here, I have 3 types of the circle. So this is a full circle. Same applies to this. This is a full circle, but then this one is a half circle, which we call it a semi-circle. Okay, so if you look at these lines, they are very different, but then this one is the same with this one. I'll tell you why I've chosen to draw this one. So this line, if you check, it doesn't go all the way to the other side of the circle, meaning that what do we call this line? We call this line a radius. Okay, meaning that when we see a line going up until halfway of the circle, that line is a radius. But what about this one that goes all the way to the other side of the circle? We call this one a diameter. Okay, so now if you check the difference between this, is because this one goes halfway and then this one goes all the way, meaning that if we add, let me use another pen here so that I can clearly make it different. If we add another line, this line is the same as this one, meaning that if we can have 2 of this line, we can have this line, meaning that when we come to our calculations, our diameter is equals to 2 radius, meaning that if we can have 2 of the radius, we can have a diameter. And then what do we need to have if we need to have a radius? We must have a full diameter. And if we have the full diameter, we're going to take that diameter and divide it by 2, and then we'll get a radius. Okay? Now, look at this. Let me also draw another type of a circle. I don't know if I'm going to be correct with the drawings because I can see that is a struggle. But let me try to rub it here. Yeah. I've tried. I had tried. Okay. So this one is a semicircle. But what is this one? This one, we call it a quarter circle. This is a quarter circle. Okay? This is a quarter circle. So, the difference here, however the circle is separated, there is one thing that is not changing. This line, look at this. Even if the circle was cut in half, the diameter doesn't change. It remains the diameter. Okay? But if you are given a quarter circle, you cannot have a diameter. It means now you have a radius. Remember, even if this line is going up like this one seems to be on the bottom here. These lines are the same. These are the radius. Okay? These lines are the radius. So if, now let's go to the formulas now. How do we calculate a circumference of a full circle? The circumference of a full circle is equals to 2 pi r. Or someone can say the circumference is equals to pi d. Pi multiplied by diameter. Okay, let me give you the reason. These formulas, they are the same. Because if you multiply this radius by 2, look at what you have. Multiply the radius by 2, you're going to end up having a diameter. So it's the same as this one. I will also do the example, okay? So let me show you how to calculate again the circumference of this one. You can say the circumference of a half of a semicircle, that is going to be 2 pi r divided by 2, or pi d divided by 2. If you don't want to divide it by 2, you can multiply it by half, 1 over 2. And how can we we calculate the circumference of a quarter circle? We can say 2 pi r divided by 4, because the circle can be divided into, if we divide the circle by 4, we're going to have quarters, you understand? So why do we divide by 4? Is because we want the perimeter of 1/4. Okay, for instance, we have how many quarters in a circle? We have 4. Look at this. I'm just going to show you an example with the first one that I had drawn there. What are we going to do? We're just gonna come here and then divide it by 4. How many quarters do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have divided by 4. So we're gonna divide this by 4. And in this formula also we can say circumference is equals to pi d divided by 4. Okay, now I want to do examples on how to substitute in the formulas. Let's say we are given this one. This line is equals to 6 centimeters. Okay, let me get my calculator. It's 6 centimeters, meaning that we have the diameter. So we are not going to use this formula. If we want to use this formula, we are going to calculate the radius here. And what is the radius? Radius is equals to d divided by 2. And then in this case, our diameter is 6 centimeters. So we're going to have 6 centimeters divided by 2, which is equals to 3 centimeters. Okay, and then now we're going to calculate. We can use this one firstly. Okay, let's go and substitute on that one. We're going to have 2 multiplied by pi is equals to every time when we use pi, just know that pi is equals to 3,142. Okay, now pi is equals to 3,142 multiplied by how much is our radius? Our radius is 3 centimeters. Then we just press our calculator and say 2 multiplied by 3,142 multiplied by 3, which says our total distance around this full circle is equals to 18,852 centimeters. So we can round it off to 2 decimal, that is 18,85 centimeters. Then let's come this side. We're gonna have 3,142 multiplied by our diameter. Our diameter is 6 centimeters. So it's gonna be 3,142 multiplied by 6 centimeters, which is equals to 852 centimeters, which is the same as 18,85 centimeters when we have rounded off. Okay, then let's come to the semicircle. Let's come to the semicircle. We are given the, so if this is a semicircle, then we divide our answer by 2, then we are done. Okay, so now I just want to move to examples. I'm just gonna do few examples. Okay, on how to calculate what am I writing? Let me use a black now. Right. Hi. Right, example number 1, we're gonna calculate the pyramid. Okay, let's say we are given this field. There's a soccer field. Okay, there's a soccer field. Right, this is 105 meters in distance, and then the distance from this point to this point, that is 50 meters. Okay, that is example number 1. And in example number 2, you are given this netball field. Netball field is having the center here. And this is just like I don't know which other things they have here. 105 meters, and then this is the goal areas, 50 meters. Okay, okay, this is example number 2. This is example number 2. Right, so when we're looking at our two fields there, they are different. You'll realize why, you'll understand why I gave you 2 different fields there. Now the question says calculate the perimeter of the field. Now that is number 1. Now they are not telling you, remember, now you're not going to get that the shape given is the field or is what. Okay, so if you are not given what that name, you have to identify here, as I have said it on top there, that you have main core shapes. You must check which shapes you are given. Okay, and remember, now you'll have to define what is your terminology on this question. Okay, so your terminology is the perimeter. So now you'll have to remember about the concept. What is the concept of the perimeter now? Is the total distance around the shape or the object. Okay, meaning that we need the distance around this field, and I will explain why other things are not going to be included. Okay, now we check. If we look here, we can see that the distance from this point to this point is 105, meaning that this is the length. You understand? So if we can check and zoom in, we can see a rectangle, meaning that this side is equals to this side. This side is equals to this side. Okay, and then what else do we have? We have a semicircle, we have a semicircle. Okay, so if we want the distance of this shape, we want the distance around the shape. Okay, that means this side is not counted. The width of this rectangle that we can see, they are not going to be counted when we calculate the perimeter. We are only going to count two lengths and two semicircles. Okay, meaning that our perimeter now is going to be perimeter. We're going to calculate the perimeter and the circumference, and we add them together. Okay, so the perimeter now we're going to consider two length, which is equals to 2 multiplied by 105 meters, which is equals to 210 meters. Okay, then we'll calculate what? The circumference. But on the circumference now, we are given two circumferences. That means that, we are given two semicircles. Okay, so if we are given two semicircles, it means if we add two semicircles, we're gonna have a circle. Okay, we're gonna have one circle, meaning that we can use a formula that will give us a circumference of one circle. We can use the pi d. Why do we use the pi d? Because we are given the diameter. So it's going to be useless for us to calculate the radius first, whereas we have the formula to use when we have the diameter. Okay, so we're going to have 3,142 multiplied by 50 meters. And remember, the unit has to be the same. So 3,142 multiplied by 50, that is going to be 157,1 meters. Therefore, the perimeter now of this field is going to be 210 meters plus 157,1 meters plus 210, which is equals to 367,1 meters. That is our total perimeter. Now, why did we not include the breadth or the width? Is because the concept says perimeter is the total distance around the shape, meaning that what we have just done now, we have calculated the distance around this shape. We don't want the distance inside the shape. If you check the width, they are inside the shape. They are inside the shape. So we don't want them. We want the distance around the shape. Okay. Let's go to example number 2. Now, in example number 2, you are given a similar, not saying the same, a similar shape, or the same, it's a similar field. Okay. So a question will come like this. Number 2, calculate the perimeter the perimeter of the field. Okay, so let's check now. Our field is made of a rectangle because we can see that this side is bigger than this side. So it's made of a rectangle and a semicircle. Okay, so that now we can calculate the perimeter now. But we must be careful when we look at this the field now. One of our perimeter is inside the field, meaning that our two lengths, they are around the field. We're going to have two length plus breadth. We are no longer going to have two breadth because the other breadth is inside the field, meaning that our perimeter is going to be 2 multiplied by 105 meters plus 50 meters, because this line is around the shape. So now we have just calculated the distance here. We've just calculated the distance from this point to this point. Now we are left with the circumference of this semicircle. So that's going to be 210 meters plus 50 meters, which is equals to 260 meters. Okay, now let's talk about the circumference now. On this circumference now, we are given a semicircle. So we're gonna use the formula that has a diameter. We can say circumference equals to diameter, but now we don't need this. We don't need the full circle. We need a half circle, which is the semicircle. So it's gonna be 3,142 multiplied by 50 meters divided by 2, which is equals to 3,142 multiplied by 50 is 157,1 meters divided by 2. Okay, which is equals to 78,55 meters. That is the circumference. Therefore, our perimeter is equals to 260 meters plus 78,55 meters plus 260. That is equals to 338,55 meters. That is how we're going to calculate our perimeters. Okay, so I'm just going to end the session here, guys. If you have anything that you still need to understand about the perimeters, ask. You can write it in the comment section and then I will see it and then I shall do it next. Okay, so if you want anything concerning the private mentorship, you can also WhatsApp me, and then or you can comment asking for my numbers, and then I will forward you my numbers. And then yeah, the next thing we'll be doing the areas and the surface areas and the volume. So make sure that you subscribe to this channel so that you'll get the material that you need to prepare you for your examinations. Okay, so if you have checked this video up to this far, thank you for watching it, and then see you next time.